Hello and welcome back to Imagination Mansion. This is the new house. This is the new flat. It's teeny tiny, but we kind of love it, except the noise levels. But apart from that, we love it. So a lot happened at once, and I think it just kind of left me really exhausted. Like, we got booted out of the place in Manchester, had to move up to my parents' house, got a new job, moved again. I'm now getting to the end of my contract with this new job because it was a fixed term contract. So I'm basically covering someone on sick leave officially. And I don't know whether they're gonna keep me on or not. So that's also happening. So a lot has happened at once. It's been a very interesting 4 months. Jesus Christ. It's been a very interesting 4 months. And I'm not gonna lie, my creativity has suffered because of it. As I think with most people, in times of stress, anxiety, thankfully not depression, though I have been, very drained quite often, just because, I went 2 years without having a job, both because of the pandemic and just because of, my own problems. So I'm just, and it almost feels like, as I'm getting used to, the swing of working life again, I have the possibility of it being taken away. And there's also the stress of that being, because this is the job that I've been trying to get since I was 15, because it's a bookshop. I have always wanted to work in a bookshop, and I can say that it's the only job where I haven't felt sick before I go in. I did the first couple of days, but that's because I didn't know what it'd be like. But it's a job that I love. It's a job that I enjoy. I work with people that I like. The activities that I have to do at work, so my responsibilities, I love. And even, difficult customers don't feel that bad, because the atmosphere of the place is so, not zen, but it's so me, that I don't mind it too much. I'll get stressed for the time that they're there, obviously, because they're being rude or really frantic or whatever it is, and obviously that's going to stress me out, but so I don't want to lose that. And when I think about losing that, and I think about get to the middle of May, I think about getting to the middle of May and they're just alright, see ya. I'm like, I do get upset, and it does make me emotional. But I think also the not knowing is kind of meaning that I can't fully relax. But obviously they don't have to tell me, I guess. I'd love it if they did, because also if they are gonna let me go, I need to look for a new job, which is also stressing me out. Because like I said, I haven't had a job for 2 years. This was the only job I felt myself capable to do. So that's kind of stressing me out a bit. The fact that if they drop me, then, the government will be like, right, okay, time's running out, find a new job ASAP. Which is a difficult thing to deal with, that there's a timer ticking in the back of your head, and you almost can't relieve yourself of stress, even if, you're in a situation where you shouldn't be stressed. You're stressed because you don't know if that situation will change or not. It's a finite time of peace gives you stress because it's finite, And so yeah, my creativity has really suffered from that, and I've kind of gotten back into painting again. I've just opened this new, it's like a cheap sketchbook from the range. It was like £3, but it's like a slightly bigger one. I think it's A3, I'm not 100% sure if it's one of those awkward middle sizes, because it was cheap, so it wasn't really labelled. But I've got one of those, and I have done a couple of paintings, which does make me feel good, because I've just kind of been, like, I haven't been planning out. Like, I drew, because I've done 3 paintings in that sketchbook, and I planned out the first one in terms of, like, I drew it first, and then the other 2 I've just kind of, like, slapped some paint on paper, which feels good. Feels really good. Because there's a YouTuber I quite like, an art YouTuber I quite like, called Sandy Hester, who, you know, advocates for painting loose and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I've just been going at that, and it's been nice to be able to do that. But in terms of writing, I haven't really done any. I think mostly because the story ideas that I have are very convoluted in terms of, like, they're very finicky, and one of them's going to end up being very long, but they're also respectively fantasy and sci-fi, and so there's a lot of world building I have to do for that. There's a lot of character, you know, nuances that I need to add that maybe I wouldn't have to if it was just a mundane story. So there's a lot of background thinking that I have to do, which is fine. I do enjoy research, you know. I'm basically in charge of non-fiction at work because I'm the only, you know, person who really reads non-fiction there. But I think because I'd started writing something, especially with the sci-fi story that I'm trying to do, I'd started writing something, and then I realised that A, I didn't really know where the story was going, and B, I realised that I hadn't planned out enough of the world to be able to make it succinct from beginning to end, or within, like, the same rules of science, basically. But I'd already started writing it, and I was already invested in what I'd written, so I know that I need to scrap it, but I really don't want to, so I've kind of just hit a brick wall with it right now. And with the other one, I don't know how big it will end up being, so I don't know if I'll have to almost, like, split it into, like, episodes. So basically split it into smaller sections than I was expecting to do, just simply so I can handle it and cope with how much I'd have to write, or into how much detail I have to go for each one. And then I have the one that I have completely written a first draft of. I have edited a bunch of it. I can check how much I've edited, because I do have an account on NaNoWriMo now, so I can check. I have done 29 out of 52 pages editing. Like, it's a children's story, so it's a lot shorter, and also I didn't want to make it too dense or anything like that, just because I'd be putting in information that wasn't needed. So it's better to realise that it's going to be on the shorter side than try and do what I was trying to do at one point, which was trying to make it longer, and then I had to cut it all out again because it didn't actually need to be that. And with that one, I just keep losing motivation for it, and I think this is, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is probably quite a common thing with writers or creatives. Like, once you start getting close to the end of the project, you both simultaneously get exhausted with it because you've been doing it for so long. Like this children's novel that I've been trying to, well, it's not really a novel, it's a novella, I guess. It's 52 pages. But this story that I've been trying to write, I've been writing it. First of all, I was writing it for a while, and now I've been editing it. Like, I started editing it, then I stopped, then I started, then I stopped. And I don't really know where I'm going with it because I don't really have anyone I can ask to professionally critique it, and I don't have the money to professionally critique it. So I'm kind of just guessing at this point. Because I know that, like, if you go down the traditional publishing route, you will get an editor as part of the publishing process, but it's like, you still want to get it to a point where they think it's worth editing. So that's kind of hard. So I'm simultaneously exhausted by it because I've been doing it for so long now, and it's not even that long, so it feels like I shouldn't be exhausted, which is just another level of like mental exhaustion. And also like scared to finish it, because if I finish it, someone can critique it and tell me it's absolutely worth nothing. So it's hard. And I think, especially with all the stress that I've had recently, I just don't have the motivation for it at all, which is a shame, because it is a story that I love, and it is a story that I want other people to read, and I'm less fussed now about whether I go traditional publishing or independent publishing. Well, like self-publishing or independent, like, because I guess there is like a middle ground, which is like all those tiny publishing houses that exist. So it's, yeah, I think I'm stressed and exhausted, and then I'm more stressed and exhausted because I'm too stressed and exhausted to do my creative outlet things that usually calm me down. Like, I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna join For the Words, the website, and NaNoWriMo, and you know, it's got all this community and stuff, it's gonna keep me going. But I literally joined For the Words, and just after I realised that it was a paid system, and so I paid for the, you know, next few months, I hit the brick wall and I haven't touched it. So then I have the stress of feeling like I'm wasting money as well. So it's just a lot all at once, and I know that I need to give myself a break because it is a lot. Like I said, it's been 4 months, and like at least a year's worth of stress has happened in those 4 months, and so I do need to cut myself some slack and just go with the flow, and it'll come back when it comes back and all that kind of stuff. But as someone, I think I literally said to someone, like, my lifeblood is creativity. Like, when I stop knowing how to be creative, or I stop feeling as creative, or I don't have the energy for creative things, I just start to spiral. And I'm like aware of like the starts of that, so I'm trying to, you know, do little outlets by, yeah, getting back into painting, and just like scribbling little ideas here and there, just to try and, you know, keep pen to paper, or, you know, artistic expression on paper in some way to basically keep me sane. So it's hard. And I think that was another one of the reasons why I picked up the camera again, because I hadn't been able to for a while, because I'd been living at my parents' house where I didn't really feel comfortable. Before that, we'd been living with other people where I didn't really feel comfortable. And here, like, it's just us. Like, Kenneth knows that I film, and as long as I let him know that I'm filming, you know, he can go about his business, and if he wants to be in the video, he can be. If he doesn't, he can just, you know, hide in a corner somewhere. Bit harder in this place because, like I said, it's tiny, but, you know, he can, like, go for a walk or something if he's so inclined. But yeah, so I'm just in a sticky place at the moment where I'm trying to acknowledge that little and often is a fine way of being creative, and just because I haven't written words in a document or on a page for a while doesn't make me less of a writer. It just means that I have had about 2 years worth of stress and life events in a couple of months. And I do, see, this is what I have to do. I have to, like, go over it and go over it, because my brain keeps going, but what if, but butt. And I'm like, no. You've had a mess of 2022. Breathe. And, you know, I guess this is also, like, to anyone else who is struggling and is like, I haven't been creative, productive, motivated, insert word of passion here, because there's just been so much going on and I'm just drained by just life in general. Like, your brain can only cope with so much, your body can only cope with so much, and, you know, if everything else in your life is just chaotic right now, just let yourself just, like, breathe. Just acknowledge that you have coped with, like, a decade of stress in 2 years. And, like, accept that. And accept that, you know, your body is, you know, flesh and bone. And, you know, it needs to chill out every now and again. And, you know, you will bounce back. And I know that I will bounce back eventually. Once I have clarification. For me, it's mostly I'm just waiting for the clarification. Because one way or another, though one way is much more preferred, I can map out my future from there. I can decide where I'm going from there. And I have people I can speak to help me. And also remember that, like, even if you feel like it's just you and it's just, you know, one person army and all this kind of stuff, like, there are family, there are friends, there are online communities if you don't feel like you have either of those things. You know, there's always somewhere to go, you know, because there are Discord servers for everything nowadays. Like, I've lost track of the amount of, like, you know, Discord servers that I've seen promoting this, that, and the other, and they're not, you know, they're not. It's interesting what topics there are. They're just safe spaces to nerd out and to, like, sometimes just communally commiserate what's happening in certain places, either within a specific community or a specific niche or whatever, or to, like, bump each other up. Like, if it's an art community and, you know, you post, like, your piece of art and everyone's like, oh, it's really nice, yeah. Like, even if you think they're just being nice, you know, like the stereotypical mum who's like, oh, it looks great, like my mum did, thanks mum, it still feels good. Like, even though I was like, for God's sake, I was looking for criticism, it still felt good that she liked it. Because the world is mean. Sometimes the internet is mean, but we have to find the nice places within all the mean to keep ourselves sane. And hey, if you can't find the nice, be the nice. So, you know, I am gonna be kind to myself, give myself a break, and when the words come, then I will write them down. When the pictures come, then I will paint them. But for now, I'm just gonna chill out, read a book, watch some YouTube, listen to some K-pop, drink a horrendous amount of coffee, and go to bed. Till next time, bye bye.